My mom, who was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a bone marrow cancer in 2002, June 2002.
Oh,
She was 40 years old, almost 41. And so as a 21-year-old guy, I'm going through like these things. My mom's sick. I'm in a new place. I'm not playing ball anymore. Like, who am I? What am I doing? I'm just going to be this fit guy. This is what I'm going to do.
yeah.
And so I kind of lived that way until I was about 26, 27. And the problem was that when I was 26, 27, now I was working. I'd graduated from university. I got a job as teaching grade 7 math and science. And
Come
so
on.
I was working and it was just like, who am I? Well, my plan didn't evolve with my life.
Welcome to The Climb, where I help Christian men live fully, lead boldly, and leave a legacy that matters. I'm your host, Teko Bailey, husband, father, life coach, and your guide in the climb. Whether you're navigating fatherhood, building a business, or simply longing to live more purpose, this is the space to rise. Hey Cam, welcome to The Climb.
Brother, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here and have this conversation.
Absolutely. You do a bunch of things, Cam. You are a fitness coach, but you also work with men in different capacity. What got you started in all of this? And yeah, Cam, why don't I have you introduce yourself a bit more for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Cam Hall. I am a loving husband to my wife, Kim. We have been married, 14 years now, and it's gone by in a flash, but we actually started dating in 2003. So we've been together for a long time, and life took us apart for some university and some athletics, and then brought us back together. We got married in 2011, and we have two amazing kids. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 11-year-old son. So I'm a husband and I'm a father, and I also have a passion for helping men, a heart for seeing men grow into leadership roles, and to do that through improving their health. You mentioned the fitness coaching, and I can talk a little bit about that, but through their health, through their presence, through character, and through developing leadership skills in their home. So passionate about a lot of things. And what got me started on that, of course, is becoming a husband and a father.
Come on.
Through my life, I grew up in a really loving family, and I have two younger brothers, and my mom and dad were great parents. However, it was a different time, and we grew up in, some people would say, developed some grit and resilience through the way we
Yeah.
grew up. You know, we grew up in poverty. My dad worked in construction his entire life. We lived in a small town. We moved out of a big city into a small town because financially my parents just couldn't make it happen in the city. And my dad drove in and out an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, commuted to and from every day to work in construction. So I didn't see him very much growing up. So I knew my dad loved me. We weren't super close, I would say. I'm way closer now with my dad as an adult than I was as a kid. But yeah, I knew my dad loved me. He worked hard for our family. But really, mom ran the home, and it was me and my brothers. But mom was a waitress in a coffee shop, and she worked split shifts so she could get the coffee rush and the dinner rush and
Come
do
on.
all of that. And then it was a lot of time me just taking care of my brothers. And so grew up that way. Everything seemed fine, but it's not until you're older and you realize when your parents like have the sit down. I was 27 years old and having a conversation with my parents, and university was done. I had gotten into my first teaching position. I was in education. And so they were just like, there's some things we just want to share with you about growing up. And they just shared some information with me about our family and what we went through and how many times it was really, really hard. And they didn't know where food was coming from for that next week. And all these things clicked in my head. And in my life, I've seen that opportunities have come forward where other people as mentors, other people as coaches, other people as guides had stepped into my life. And without me knowing it, that helped me take the next step, the next step, and the next step, and kept our family fed and kept our family moving. And So we had a really interesting upbringing. Like I said, parents were loving, but I think we grew up in a generation where our dads were working all the time, and dad never missed a basketball game.
Come on.
He never missed a tournament. But dad was working lots, and I didn't see him much growing up. And so when I became a father myself, I knew that I really, really wanted to be a dad. And I was super excited when we found out that we were going to have our first child. And when I got into it, I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing, like, and I could ask my dad would give me feedback, but I hadn't had the experience growing up of a dad who was always around. My dad, again, my dad loves me, so he's probably going to listen to this because he loves my work and he loves what we do. And he loves guys like you who are also on a mission to help fathers. But, my dad didn't hug me. He wasn't a huggy guy. He wasn't like a physical guy. I knew my dad loved me. I don't remember my dad like just looking me in the eye and say, Cam, I love you. Like I don't remember, but I knew, you feel it.
Yeah.
Like he's a good dad, but just different generation where now, like I remember putting my son to bed and he had to be a year old. So my daughter would have been 3 and I was like kissy huggy on my daughter the whole time. Right. Like she just had me wrapped around her finger as soon as she was born. And, when my son Braylon, I remember putting him to bed, I just had this, like, I just wanted to give him a kiss. And in my head, I'm like, dads don't do that. And then I was like, no, I'm going to be a dad who does that. And here we are. Right. We're 10 years later. And when I tuck him in at night and we say our prayer together and I give him a kiss on the forehead and tell him I love him and just leading with that intensity. But yeah, my journey I'll stop rambling, but my journey started. That's good. Yeah, my journey started really when I became a father. And then I'm sure you're aware we all have journeys, and I think through our own pain and discomfort is where we find ourselves and we find our mission and we find our purpose. And so, through that own journey is what set me on fire to help guys, one, get fit, which is the whole story of Fight the Dad Bod.
No, we're going to be jumping into that.
And dad's making a difference and everything.
So good. What's the biggest thing you felt like you learned from growing up in that kind of environment and having some of those experiences?
Okay, so I would say, this is so funny that you asked this, by the way, because we're recording this on a Friday. My kids have been at home and I'm walking around the house and there's things that are just undone. Right. And I don't want to be the villain and be like, go do this and go do that.
Yeah.
But I brought them together and I said, you know what? Just if you see it, do it. If you see it, do it. If it needs to be done, get it done. If you know it's a priority, then do it. If it feels like if you see something and it's unsettling to you, fix it. Like we can do that. We just had that conversation 2 hours ago in our home. But when I was growing up, that's what I realized. I realized that if I saw it, I had to do it. Because mom was working hard, dad was working hard. My brothers were both younger than me. One brother 3 years younger, the other 6 years younger. So there was quite the gap. And man, I just stepped into that I can do this role as a young man. I remember I got my first job in the coffee shop. Well, it was like a restaurant where my mom worked. She was a waitress, but I got a job at 14 years old in the back of house. I was doing dishes on my 14th birthday because that was a law here. You had to be 14 at that time. And so on my 14th birthday, I got a job washing dishes. And there was a manager in the back and she was a friend of my mom's and she gave me the job. Her name was Nora. And she brought me back to teach me how to dishwash. And I'm putting the dishes through the machine and I kind of got it. Well, 2 weeks later, she came to me and said, do you want to learn how to cook? I'm like, yeah, I want to learn how to cook. 14 years old. I'll cook in the restaurant. And so she taught me how to cook. And I'm not talking like line cooking. Like we did some line cooking. We had the pizza oven, but we did like buffet. We did catering. We did all our baking from scratch. And she taught me everything. And it got to the point that at 15 years old, I was the only cook in the restaurant on a Saturday or Sunday evening, and no one in the front of house knew that this 15-year-old kid was making all their food, right? But I developed the sense of responsibility that people were counting on me, but also this capability that I can learn anything and do anything, no matter how hard it is. Yeah. But I also remember something else that I think is important about this journey, and it was that in reflection, the amount of grace it took for Nora to take that time and how much she poured into me. And I told you, we grew up in an uneasy financial situation. And I remember Nora, when we were working together, she never got mad, man, but she'd be like, oh, and like this big shout and throw the
Yeah.
pizza on the counter.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, yeah, I messed this one up, throw it in a box, throw it on top of the pizza oven. And at the end of shift, she'd be like, you want to take that mistake home? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Teenage guy. I'm like, yeah, I'll take the pizzas
Why
home.
not?
Well, I found out that those mistakes weren't really mistakes, and
Oh,
that Nora was sending food home for our family.
wow.
But I never really knew that until I was a grown man. And I found out later that I had an opportunity to go to a high school that was a semi-private high school. It was in our town, but kids would fly from all over the world and go to this boarding, quote unquote, school. But it was a great place. I loved it. Small school. I had this opportunity to go there. It was a small Christian school. And I knew there was a tuition. And I think at the time it was like $2,400 a year, which for my parents may as well have been 24,000. Didn't matter, right? But I got to go grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. I also found out from my mom, before my mom passed away, she said, you know how when you went to high school that, we were in tough times? I said, yeah. She said, someone anonymously paid your tuition for you and your brothers every year of your high
Wow.
school. I'm like,
Wow.
what? And she's like, I just found out who it was. Who was it? It was Nora. And so
Wow.
there's
Get out of
this
here.
woman in our life who is a good friend of my mom, who had no kids of her own and was a single
Yeah.
lady. Whether she knows it or not, made a huge impact in my life because she gave me opportunity.
Yeah.
And opportunity in that school for sport, which then took me into collegiate athletics and basketball, which then took me into education and an interest in working with youth, which took me into my career as first a teacher and then a vice principal, and 18 years later in education, been able to see youth grow up but then get to see dads interact with their kids in a lot of different ways. And so all these things together have compounded to bring me to a place in my life where my own experiences are my own and my own interpretation of them. But when I share them with other people and I have a conversation with a man, he said, hey, I'm going through this. There's something in my life. I'd be like, hey, some pinpoints that I know how you feel right now. But you don't know
Yeah.
how, like I can empathize with you. There's no sympathy here, but man, I have an idea of what that might feel like. And so, yeah, man, life, I learned a lot about resiliency, grit, determination, that if you see it, do it, and just get it done.
Well, I like that. It kind of brings me back to even this morning. I was fixing a drawer for my boys, and I said to my wife, I thought about buying a new Chester drawer for them, but you know what? Let's keep this old one. Why? Because it helps our kids to push through. When it's hard to push that drawer in, you're learning some version of resilience, or just pushing through whatever is blocking you there. And sometimes as parents, unintentionally, we maybe try to find the path of least stress or whatever. We sometimes, not all the time, and it's not a bad thing, sometimes, but sometimes we make it too easy for them, and so they don't have anything to help them build that resilience in their journey. And I love how you talk to your kids, and you say, if you see it, do it, because it's just different things that we equip them with along the way. And I think your journey has so much in that to teach us today how we can use some of those principles and transfer it.
Yeah, I love it. Can I just touch on what you just shared? I think that's a beautiful
Of
story
course.
of you and your
Of
kids,
course.
and because I think there's a depth there that it will go unnoticed unless it's addressed. And I just wanted to say something is
Yeah.
that, when you fix that drawer and you make your kids kind of go through that process, this is hard and you're going to have to do this. As simple as it is some of us might think pushing in a drawer, but there's some resiliency and there's some discomfort and they have to go through it, but you did it with them. And this morning, like when I was talking to my kids about when you see it, do it, I didn't say when you two see it, do
Yeah.
it. I said, so let's as a family we need to have a family meeting is what I said. We need
Yeah.
to have a family meeting and a conversation. My wife was off today. I said, when you see it, do it. This is what it means. It means that when I see something, I will do it. So yes, when I see a basket of folded laundry in our room, Dad won't live out of the basket. He'll actually put his clothes away. That's what it means. It means that
Come on.
When mom and I go and we see the recycling bin is overfull and the garbage is full, we're not going to put one more thing on top of that. We're going to take it out, but we're going to ask that you do the same. And so I don't want to be a villain here. We're going to do this together, because if all 4 of us in our home do this, and when we see it, we do it, then there's less for everyone and there's actually less for you. So you're not going to feel like you have to do the vacuuming all the time. You have to do the dusting all the time. If you see something's dirty, just do it. And we'll take care of each other and we'll do it together. And so when you frame it that way, and when you frame fixing the drawer and doing this with your kids, there's a difference between doing things to someone, for someone, or with someone. And as dads, we are always called, I believe, to do things with our kids, with our families, lead with intention. Because if we do it to them, they're not going to learn how to do it themselves. That's actually what we're telling them, is you can't do it yourself. When you do it for them, same thing. You can't do it yourself. I'm going to do it. It's okay. But when you do it with them, you model, you're an example, you show them actually how to do it, and you're building the young human that you want to see, and that young adult that you want them to develop into. But even that simple story of you fixing that drawer and saying, no, I think it's okay for our kids to go through this and this discomfort, is doing that with them and teaching them through repetition of what skills and resiliency and grit they're going to need.
Absolutely. What does the term family team mean for you? As you share some of those principles, because I think it's so important. I think a lot of dads want to do this, but maybe sometimes we miss the moments that we have to do it in, or maybe have the moment and don't know how to actually do it with the kids. So talk to me about family team, what that looks like for you, and how you maximize on those opportunities to maybe build something that's way beyond just you and them now.
Yeah, the progress is in the messiness, right? It's the imperfection that makes it great. Because if you wait as a dad, as you're leading your family team, I love that. Like when I look at my family and I think of us as a team, one that I can't cut people from, but a team that I have. And I said that to my daughter today. I said, if you don't do this in a job, or you didn't do this on your basketball team, they would cut you or they fire you. I can't do that, but when you're building a family team as a dad, sometimes we feel like we have to be perfect, that we have to have all the answers, that we have to know exactly what to say to our kids or exactly what to say to our spouse, and have this sheet, checkbox of the right things to do. No, my encouragement is, when you're building that family team, and what I had to do is, I have been wrong so many times, and I have approached things in so many wrong ways that I've learned from, is that approaching that though from a lens of growth, of saying that I'm okay with being wrong. And I know that leadership doesn't come from always knowing the answer, but true leadership comes from not knowing and asking questions. And when I know those things, I can lead my family team. I don't have to be perfect. I just need to speak. I just need to act. I just need to lead by example and bring leadership through my kids, seeing dad go through this. And if we get into a conversation where I'm trying to set a standard or set the way that we want our family to go, and one of my kids now at 11, 13, they're bound to challenge me on something, I can stop for a moment and, without being emotional about it, be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. I can see why, that it's that hesitation about diving into hard conversations and fierce conversations with your family, because we feel like we have to have all the answers. And dads, it's okay not to have the answers.
Come on.
Like, no one does.
Come on. Let's segue a little bit into marriage, because to play the team game, you and your spouse kind of have to be on the same page and know how to support each other as you're bringing forward a principle. And then let's take that kind of a little bit over into dad bod, because we get tired as dads, and I think maybe that's where even, for some of us who don't get to do better health practices or exercise, that can easily creep upon us.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in my relationship with my wife, Kim, here's what we have learned. So now we've been married for 14 years, but we've really been together for 23 years. So we have had our moments. We've had our moments of disagreement, but we've had our moments of beautiful unity and agreement when everything seems to be working fine. And what I know and what I've experienced through our interactions over the last 20 some years, whether through dating or when we got married and started a family, was that the only way that we could be on the same part on the same team is that we don't have a coach. We have player
Yeah.
coaches. Like, we're both equals in this. Now, I do believe that I have a different role in my family than my wife does. I feel as a masculine leader and as a husband and as a father that I am called to be keeper of the garden. Brian Hansen calls it that in his book, The Men We
Come
Need. He
on.
says men are called to be keeper of the garden. We are here to protect, to provide, to show the way. I'm
That's
not
right.
taking any power away from my wife, but what I'm saying is I know that that's my responsibility. And part of that responsibility in doing that as part of a team and a marriage is to have open conversation, to ask real questions, to be vulnerable and honest with each other. Because it's really easy to gloss over the hard things and
Yeah.
focus on all the easy things, but to take time away and say, no, like, I need to ask the hard question. I need to say the
Yeah.
hard comment, and not in a hard, hurtful way, but in a bring this out in the open way so we can address it. For Kim and I, what does that look like? I think that's looked like different things. It's been times where we go for walks, we walk the dog, we ask real questions together, and we take time that, and then we'll do that for 4 or 5 months, and then all of a sudden life gets busy, and we're like, hey, we haven't gone for a walk together for a while. And then there's the dads who are like, okay, make sure you have a date night with your wife every week.
Yeah.
Would love
Yeah.
to. We did it. We tried it for about like 3 weeks, and then there was 9
Doesn't
weeks we
always
didn't do
happen.
it, and then 1 week, and then, but the intention is there. And then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we don't have to go out on a date. We can, after the kids are in bed, sit
Yeah.
on the couch together, face each other, one line one way, one line the other, and just ask how the week has been. And
So
just
good.
connect and spend time together. Tony DiLorenzo is a friend of mine. He wrote a book. I was just doing a podcast with him. It's called The 6 Pillars of Intimacy. And like he talks about all these different types of intimacy. And physical is one of them. There's physical intimacy, which not even is like sexual intimacy, but physical intimacy,
Yeah.
like holding, touching hands, like hug, whatever. Of course, there's sexual intimacy, but there's also that presence and that psychological intimacy and the emotional
Yeah.
intimacy and those things. And so Kim and I think in our teamwork together have to be aware of those things that could draw us apart. And then instead of drawing apart or just being questioning each other, is being open to connecting, bring us together and ask those questions together. And having shared practices. Like we go to the gym and work out together now because our kids are older and we can leave them at home, but that hasn't always been the case, right? When they were little. We do things outside together. Like I said, we walk the dog, we go for hikes, we bike ride, we make meals together, like those types of things that when kids see that you're united in doing some of the activities that you love, your kids will also start to love those activities.
I mean, your kids are definitely at a particular age right now where you have the freedom to do some things. But I hear a lot of guys talk about, and even for myself, love and respect, and how we get to model that in our relationships. Women showing respect to men and men showing love to them. And I just wonder for you, how does that play out? Where did you get, because you didn't necessarily see all of this model in your own family. How did you make it through some of those hard seasons where you had those challenges? What kind of kept you, or how did you find those resources? Because I think some guys are kind of stuck in the middle where they're not quite at a certain season yet where their kids
Yeah.
are older and just trying to navigate. How would you speak to those men?
Truthfully, the turning point for me as a leader in my home was when I began to surround myself with men who've done what I wanted to do, with mentors, with coaches. I joined mastermind groups and coaching
Yeah.
programs. I dove into books. Most of the books that I've read have been read because I've been part of mastermind groups of men who have said, hey, we're going to read this together and go through it. So
Yeah.
I started to surround myself with people who I didn't aspire to be them, but to live lives that were similar, or with guys who had expertise in certain areas, whether it was in fitness, whether it was in health and nutrition, or whether it was in communicating with families or intimacy with my wife. I've sought out guidance from these guys and been willing to invest both time, energy, money, all of it,
Come
and
on.
time away from my family to be able to do these things. And what I found is all those things I'm like, maybe I don't do this. Maybe I don't hire the coach for my personal health. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
don't pay that monthly due for the mastermind. It'd be so much easier on my family because I feel like I'm being selfish. Everything that I've done that way, where I have like invested and taken a chance, it has just provided far beyond, maybe not financially all the time, but
Yeah.
far beyond in the relationships that I've been able to build, the connections that I have, the resources that I have access to. I have my own like band of brothers and board of directors that I can
Come on.
say like, hey, I have this conversation in my home right now. This is what I'm thinking of doing. And they'll be like, Cam, and I'm the only Canadian in their group, but they'll say to me and they'll be like, Cam, brother, you need to give your head a shake, like don't do that, And so they have like a couple of guys from the southern United States and they'll say like
Love it.
these things, right? And so, but really surrounding myself with other quality, good character men, that has
So
been
good.
the turning point.
So good. 100%. I recommend that to any guy every day, and absolutely agree with you. You talk about fitness and health
Yeah.
and fighting the dad bod. Tell me
Yeah.
about this dad bod.
Yeah.
What is the dad bod?
Yeah.
How do we keep it or get rid of it?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this goes back to my upbringing as well. So I was always like athletic, fit type guy. Ended up playing college basketball, but had more schooling left after I was done my eligibility. So you only have a certain number of years you can play collegiate sports and then you're
Yeah.
done. So you don't have like 30-year-old guys playing against 19-year-old kids. And so when I was 22, I had finished my eligibility and I still had like 3 years left. I had gotten my first degree, a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, and I was looking to go into education. So I had another degree that I needed to do. So I had a lot of school and I didn't know who I was. I was no longer playing basketball. I was in a new city, in a new environment, new university. And I was like, man, who am I? Well, I had always been Cam, the fit guy. So I'm like, I'm just going to be the fit guy. I'm going to be Cam, the jack guy. So I'm going to be 6'5", 220 and shredded. Like that's what I'm going to be. And so, but that was so, I look at like where I was in my 20s, and I think like in our early 20s, we all want to be both strong, whatever, attractive to the opposite sex type thing.
Of course.
But what it created was that my body started to be the shell for like who I actually was, and my appearance was more important than what my character was, and I didn't know who I truly was and what my identity was. Now this all coincided, I'll have to say, because it had an impact on it. My mom, who was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a bone marrow cancer in 2002, June 2002. She was 40 years old, almost 41. And so as a 21-year-old guy, I'm going through like these things. My mom's sick. I'm in a new place. I'm not playing ball anymore. Like, who am I? What am I doing? I'm just going to be this fit guy. This is what I'm going to do. And so I kind of lived that way until I was about 26, 27. And the problem was that when I was 26, 27, now I was working. I'd graduated from university. I got a job as teaching grade 7 math and science. And so I was working and it was just like, who am I? Well, my plan didn't evolve with my life. I'm trying to say that is so I would do nothing but eat chicken, rice, and carrots every 2.5, 3 hours. That's all I ate, man. Like breakfast, chicken, rice. 3 hours later, ding, 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 watch chicken and carrots. Like it was so unhealthy. I might as well have been eating Big Macs every 3 hours because the nutrient ratio, like I wasn't getting what I needed. And I looked great, but I felt terrible. And Kim and I, of course, were dating at this time. This is before we were married. And she's like, you are not fun to be around. Like you are hangry. Like you're always hungry. You're angry. You're irritable. You're not fulfilled. Like, what are you doing? Like you're enjoying work, but you're exhausted when you get home. And so I lived this way for like 2.5 years. And so she's like, we need to help get you like on track. So she's also an ex-collegiate athlete and into nutrition. And what happened, you fast forward a couple of years and, 2012, February 2012, my daughter was born. Up until that point, I thought, you know what? When our kid is born, we didn't know boy or girl, but when our child is born, they're going to just like fit right into our lifestyle. Kim and I like to hike and work out, and we have like the pre-portioned meals in the fridge and all of this. Yeah, that we all know as dads that doesn't happen, right? Like everything changed. Like everything changed in an instant. It was like less sleep, more stress, more grab and go, quick meals, fast food, not eating, or like everything just compounded. And in the it was about 6 to 8 months after Maya was born, I put on 28 pounds. And so for me, a guy who had a really poor relationship with food, really
Yeah.
poor like body image, a little bit body dysmorphia, and I put on this weight right away mentally, I went to a really dark spot. And at that point in time, my mom had gone through multiple treatments, went into remission. That's a whole nother story. It's a miracle.
Wow.
She was given 6 to 8 months when she was diagnosed. And my mom did pass away in 2015. But my mom lived 13 years past what she was expected to. And she got to see grandkids and weddings and all that stuff. It was cool. But at this time when Maya was born and Kim and I are now newlyweds with a baby and we have like this trouble managing stuff, I just didn't know what to do. But my wife being my wife, she's like, I love people. I'm really lonely on my maternity leave. I don't know what to do. I'm going to start boot camps for moms. And so she did. So my wife started this thing called K-Fit Mommy. She started doing boot camps for moms on maternity leaves in the parks and in the gyms and started doing this thing. It was really cool. Well, this took us fast forward. She was doing her thing. During the whole time, I'm like, I gained 28 pounds. I'm going to just do what I know works to lose weight. I got like that dad bod. We're here, the North American idea of the dad bod is that like soft midsection and it's okay. I'm a dad. I'm going to drink beer and I can get fat and it's okay because I'm a dad. And it's this excuse that guys use. And so I just see this, like this is happening to me and I don't know what to do. So I start starving myself again. I went back to I was fasting, keto, cutting carbs, you name it. I tried it. And I went back to the chicken and rice and whatever. And I lost the weight. I did. I lost it in about, it was like 10 months, 11 months. But then a year later, my son was born and it all came back because now we got two of them and you're playing man-to-man defense and you're like, one's got one, one's got the other and you don't know what's happening. And it was just chaos.
Exactly.
And all the weight came back because I realized that I didn't have a plan. I had like a little bit of a strategy and I was just doing what the gurus online were telling me. And and so I put all the weight back on. Now I was an assistant principal in the elementary school, 2 kids. And at that time, I had started my master's degree in educational leadership. And so I was a full-time student, working full-time, brand new newborn, 2-year-old baby, wife who needed me, terrible health. And things started to snowball. And I got to a really low spot. In January 2015 now, my son is like 7 months old. January 2015, Kim is like, I want to go to this health conference. I want you to come with me. I'm like, get me out of here. We will leave the kids with my parents and we will get out of here. And we did. We went and there was a guy there. His name's Mark McDonald. And so he was the keynote speaker and it was like one of those big rah type, conferences. And I'm like, this is lame. Like, this is not my jam, but I'm not at work. So this is good. And Kim was like, I want to meet Mark. I want to talk to Mark. And I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. But there's this long lineup of people waiting just to see him, have him sign the book and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we wait in line and I get to the front and I'm just like, hey, Mark, my name's Cam Hall. This is my wife, Kim. We're from Lethbridge, Alberta. She has a brand called K-Fit Mommy. He's like, you're K-Fit Mommy? And my brain goes, and her brain goes, and we're like, what? He's like, when you're met. But here's what happened. This is the power of mentorship. We had reached out to some people here. We're looking for mentors, like maybe to start Kimmy's business, maybe like some marriage stuff. And we had this friend, Lori, and her husband, Dean. They're like 40 years our senior, but apparently they knew Mark and we didn't know this. And so he's like, you're K-Fit Mommy. I've been dying to meet you. Lori told me all about you. And Kim, like, what? And he's like, you know what? I got a book coming out. We're going to do a launch. It's all about why kids make you fat and how to get your body back. I think it goes right into your thing. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So we leave this conference on just like this emotional high. And then Mark's team reaches out to us and says, hey, he's doing a book launch. He's going to do 5 Canadian dates and he wants to come to Lethbridge, Alberta. I'm like, why does he want to come here? There's like 100,000 people here. Nobody knows, But anyway, so we put on this live event. He comes and he's like, I'm going to be honest. I didn't come here for the event. I came here for you two because I see something. And so he pulled me aside one of the days and we chatted for about an hour. He's like, look at where you're at right now in your health. He's like, your family needs you. Your wife needs you. You know what to do. You need the guidance and the support, but you're doing all the wrong things. You need to fuel your body, man. Food is a fuel. It is not a tool to lose weight. So let me help you. Let me coach you and let's do this. So he coached me and this is where it all kicked off because I started to feel amazing. I was fueling my body consistently, eating the right foods at the right times. He showed me a realistic way to do exercise and how to plan it. Now, I had a degree in exercise science, and like, but what he said was so much more lifestyle based. It was so much
Yeah.
more applicable to where I was at with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I hired him as a coach. He showed me, and then at the end of it, he's like, man, here's now what you need to do. You need to go out there and show other fathers how to do the same thing. And so I was like,
So
yeah,
good.
how do I do this? And ironically, I was sitting in a pub 5 days later with my buddies after a men's league basketball game over a thing of nachos. And one of my buddies goes like this. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to give into the dad bod. And he like pats his tummy. And I said, and I'm not going to be offensive here. It was
Yeah.
a different time in my life. And I looked at him and I said, F the dad bod, man. And he's like, what? I said, no, I just went through this. This is amazing. I think you could do it too. He's like, oh, Cam, the nutrition guy is going to do. And anyway, but I left there and I'm like, F the dad bod. Well, I don't want to be offensive. I'm fight the dad bod. And boom, it
Yeah,
was
come
born.
on.
So 2015, it was like November, October 2015. I just went home. It was like 1, 2 in the morning. I had this like laying in bed. I'm like, I just need to do this. So I get up, I open my computer at that point in time. I bought all the domains, I got all the social
Come
media
on.
handles. I'm like, we're going to make this a movement. And so it went through its own things. Like I started just sharing our family adventures of hiking in the Rocky Mountains and biking together and playing at the park. And here's how we eat together. And more and
Yeah.
more people kind of caught on. And on Facebook, people caught on. And then we got a contract here to do all the nutrition coaching at the university with all their athletes, my wife and I. And so we did that. And then that got some exposure and you get the reps in and you start to see where
Yeah.
people actually are at. Next thing you know, 2018, it's like people are reaching out to me. Hey, do you do coaching? Do you do coaching? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I'd come home and be like, I don't know what to do, And so I built out this thing and it
Yeah.
ended up, I've done one-to-one coaching. We've done cohort coaching. We did small groups, community-based stuff. Went really, really well during the pandemic. And then, because everybody was at home and no one had,
Exactly.
what to do. So Fight the Dad Bod really took off during that time. And there's another part of the story that, do you mind if I share it? I think it's
Go for it.
also
Go
applicable.
for
Is
it.
that,
Absolutely.
so I was a guy that grew up with no money and always had this really negative relationship with money. Like negative as in like, I'm never going to have any, everybody has more than me. I'm letting my family down if I'm not providing, blah, 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 blah. All the lies we tell ourselves. And so when I started Fight the Dad Bod and I started to realize, hey man, this could be a business, like a side gig, because I was still working in schools. It could be a side gig that could help provide for my family. Like it was a beautiful thing because it gave me this confidence that I could do something on my own. I didn't rely on somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I started hiring coaches. I started hiring like fitness coaches, masterminds, guys who built businesses, and I learned so much. But then I just pushed. And I think it was this desire to do more. And I don't even know why. Maybe it's because it was my own ego. Maybe it was because I thought I needed to do it for my family, my kids, where really maybe that's my own ego still saying that I need to be this dad that does everything for his kids. It all led to a point that during the pandemic, business was just firing. Like we had a big community, bringing 30 to 40 guys in a month, and it was just rocking and we're loving it. And something started to happen in my body. Me, the fit guy. I got this lump in my neck and I didn't tell anybody about it. And then I started to feel like this like weird like palpitation thing in my chest. And I'm like, wow, I don't know what it is. Now I'm at the same time, I'm a vice principal of a high school, which is grade 9 through 12, about 1,200 kids, 100 staff. I'm building Fight the Dad Bod. We have a team of 9 who are running Fight the Dad Bod now. Guys are coming in. I'm trying to do everything at once. I'm trying to be a dad. Kids are now in sports. Kim needs my support. And I started to relapse into this like really stressful environment. One similar to what I was feeling in 2015. But then October of 2020, October 2021, I just said to my wife, I have this like lump in my neck. She's like, what? For how long? I said, I don't know, like 6 months. She's like, what? I said, yeah, it's weird. It's like right here on the side. And every time I swallow, it feels like there's a massive vitamin right stuck in my throat. And she's like, that is not normal. You need to get that checked out. So I go to my doctor and I see him, and he's a family doctor. He's my age. And he's like, oh, yeah, we'll take a look. Any pain with it? I'm like, no. He's like, okay. So yeah, keep an eye on it and we'll come back to it. I drive from the doctor's office back to work and I get a call. And it's from an ultrasound clinic. They said, yeah, Dr. Cunningham called you, booked your ultrasound for this afternoon. And then tomorrow you have an appointment with the ear, nose, and throat specialist. I'm like, oh, so he was playing this down. Like, this dude thinks something is up.
Whoa.
And so anyway, I went through all the testing, poking, prodding, whatever. October 21st of that year, I wake up in the middle of the night. It's like 2:30 in the morning. And this is like at a time where business was booming. Work was starting to get back to normal after the pandemic. But it's like middle of the night and I wake up and I'm just like sweating profusely. I think I'm sick. Like, I'm like, oh man, I need to go to the washroom. So I run to the washroom and I get in there. I'm like, no, like, what is happening right now? I don't feel like, and I just, boom, lost consciousness. And so I fall and I smash my face into the tile floor of the washroom. And this 2:30 in the morning, my wife describes it as like hearing a baseball bat hit the floor. And she gets up. I'm 6'5" and a bit. My wife is 5'4" and 3/4. Don't forget the 3/4, by the way. The 5'4", but I'm right behind the door and she can't open the door and I'm unconscious.
Whoa.
So she pushes and she pushes, she pushes. She finally gets her head and she turns and she describes it to me. She says, I just saw you there. Your face was all swollen, blood pouring from your mouth. You're out. So she calls 911. Ambulance comes. They hook me up to all these things. The blessing in all of this in the middle of the night is my kids did not wake up. Is they just slept through the whole thing. But they like hooked me up and what's happening. And for the next several months, I was poked and prodded and tested and stress tested and all these things. And January 20th of 2022, I go to what I thought was for a blood work review. And my doctor looks at me. We're still in masks here at that point in doctor's offices. And I had left work. I said, hey, got to go for a quick blood work thing. I'll be back. And I sit in his office and he looks at me and he's like, how are you doing? And I don't know what came over me, but I started crying in his office. Like I just like shrugged my shoulders and I felt so defeated. And I just did this. And he's like, Cam, there's nothing that we can find that is pointing to these symptoms other than stress, other than anxiety and stress. And I think you're having panic attacks. I think that's what you're experiencing. I'm like, what? And then there's this like just kick in the gut because your ego kicks in. You're like, no, that's not me. That's not me. That's not like I got this, and this. They're all going on. Like, this can't be me. And he says, and he said to me, he looked at me, he's like, listen, I'm putting you out of work for 3 months. You have no choice. I'm gonna email the letter over to your employer right now. You're gonna be out for 12 weeks and you need to shut everything down. He said, and here's my prescription. I'm a doctor and I prescribe things. My prescription is this. First, you need to get up at the same time every day. You need to go to bed at the same time every day. You need to get outside and get fresh air every single day. You need to work out every single day and you need to eat healthy. That is what you need to do for 90 days. And I left there and I was in shock. And I remember getting out to my truck and sitting in the parking lot and just bawling. Like, what has this come to? And it forced me, it was a time where God had forced me to go into this moment of silence. And I shut everything down. I shut down, like Fight the Dad Bod was rolling. I shut it down. I shut everything down. Like, I called the team meeting, emergency team meeting, 9 people, told them all, we're done. Like, and I regret that now because they could have probably kept it going. But I said, we're done. I just need to take 90 days and I'll come back to it. And I had no idea what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so for 3 months, I kind of lived in silence. And it was a beautiful thing come week 5 or 6. The first 4 or 5 weeks I hid in my house. I didn't want to be seen in public. I'm an administrator of a high school, close to the high school. So people would see me during the day and be like, why aren't you at work? And I didn't want to answer questions. But
you're not walking around with a broken leg or anything. So what's your problem?
Nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. Like, but I was broken on the inside and I felt that way. And, it was during that stillness that I started to reevaluate, like, what really is the purpose? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing the things that I do? Like, who do I want to be for my family? Health, obviously. Without my health, I had nothing. And so my mentality about Fight the Dad Bod and what it meant changed entirely during that period of time. But I also knew on the other side, I have a strength in this. I'm good at coaching guys. I'm good at getting guys to burn fat, lose their 20 pounds in 90 days, but then live healthy lives with their families and show them how to do that and give them strategies and provide them with the community to support them. I'm good at that. But on this side, I also know men need more than that. I know men need more than health and nutrition. I know men need to have leadership. They need to build capacity. They need to have conversations with other men that are real conversations. They need support. Men are dying in isolation. Like, these are all things I felt during that 3 months. And so when I came back, June 1st of 2022, I launched the Dad's Making a Difference podcast, because that was on this side.
Yeah.
And then Fight the Dad Bod started to take this revamp of like, what's the messaging that I want to build?
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy on Instagram ads saying, get shredded in 90 days. No, I want to be the guy who's like, yeah, take care of your health so you can show up with the energy and the presence that your family needs, and then surround yourself with this. And so Fight the Dad Bod, the idea at first, man, it's been a decade-long process of going from what the physical look is of Fight the Dad Bod to fighting the mentality that we're going to settle as men and let our bodies go, and that prioritizing our health is selfish. That is all false. Prioritizing your health is not selfish. Self-care is not selfish, and your family needs you to do this. You are worth it. You are worth the effort. And when you do that, you can show up with more presence, better leadership skills, develop character in your family, and you're building a legacy of health for your family for years to come. And so that's where it all kind of blends together. And man, I'm on a mission. I'm fired up. Like, I'm fired up to help men.
I mean, I love your story. I love the pieces to it, and just kind of how God showed up and shifted things around for you, because I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten a different perspective of what's missing. As you've relaunched and come back to the forefront with everything that you're doing, how do you see this impacting the lives of men, and kind of just how men are receiving this? Because it's something you went through personally, and so you're able to speak with more authority in this area. It's not just like, as you say, just being the jack guy, but also somebody who understands the holistic approach of life. And I think just recently, my wife and I were having a conversation, and we said, anxiety and stress is one of the biggest things that's affecting our society today, because there's always so much to do. So how would you say men are being responsive to this? Because I think a lot of guys are maybe finding themselves in this position.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think anxiety and stress is playing a huge thing in society right now, and it's weighing on guys. But when that weighs on guys, they start to prioritize things other than their health. That's when the weight gain comes. That's when the lack of energy, they start to get lethargic. They're not sleeping well. All of those things. You manage stress differently. Obviously, I went through that. You manage stress differently when you're not healthy. And so when guys come in, and they come into our community. So we went from we still have one-to-one coaching. That's an option if guys want it. We have cohorted coaching. That's an option. But I really wanted to build a community of men. So over this past summer, we shifted platforms. We shifted to a community-based platform where guys can connect with each other. We have live trainings where we can bring guys together without the judgment or fear of guys and being you're where, you're what. And then guys can take care of their health. They have the plan there. We give them all the resources. And then, there will be guys who are there this is just so much. I need to know exactly what to do, when to do it. And then they'll jump into one of our group coaching programs, or they'll hire a coach one-to-one. But our community base, I think that's what guys need. Guys need community. And so it's being well received so far. Guys are receiving it really well. Men are interesting, right? Men don't want to engage in a community-based platform because they're scared. Guys are fearful of rejection and judgment and vulnerability. And so right now it's been fun for me to get into that community and ask guys honest questions, have nothing to do with nutrition. They're like, why is Cam asking me this in here? But it started conversations which are really healthy and really good. And then on the flip side of that, when a guy goes through that and he's like, I feel really great. He's like, and I know you do this other thing that is more ongoing month by month mastermind, surround yourself with a board of directors and a brotherhood with Dad's Making a Difference. Then when he's ready for that, that's great. Now guys are doing either that are not connected with you, which is fine. You can't be everything to everyone, but I want to make sure guys have the opportunity for what they need.
So good. Cam, I really love what you bring to the table for men. It's such a powerful uh purpose-driven life, if I can use those words, that you're living right now. And just the fact that you involve family in the midst of it, maybe not exactly in it, but you pull them along the way. And also just making sure fathers are healthy and living a more holistic and rounded life. That's something we need more of. And I'm so happy that you're doing something like that. And yeah, we need more like this.
Appreciate that. You know, I have met so many amazing dads like yourself. Like, there's so many guys out there right now who are on a mission to help men, and I think this is such a
Absolutely.
powerful time. We live in an amazing time where we have the platforms and we have the connection to be able to do this. And I appreciate you giving me this platform, bringing me in. I love this conversation, even though
Absolutely.
I feel that I dominated the conversation. I'm sorry about that, but
No, that's good.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. I want to hear your story, and you're
Yeah.
the main focus for today. So you didn't
Yeah.
dominate. It was what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, but there's so many guys right now. So if there's a guy listening to this who feels isolated in any way in his health or in his community, or that he doesn't have, here's the crazy thing is that guys don't have friends. Like, guys don't have 5 close friends,
Man, you've hit the nail on the head right there, and that's what's
right?
affecting us.
That's what's affecting us is relationships.
Yes.
So, and here's the spoiler alert. Guys will come into Fight the Dad Bod, or guys will come into Dad's Making a Difference, and that's a little bit of the shell game. That's they give them
Yeah.
what they want, and once they're in, you give them what they need. And what
Yeah.
they need are friendships and connections and other men that they trust.
Absolutely.
And so that's the hope here. But I appreciate you. Thanks for having me do
Cam,
this.
thank you so much for joining us on The Climb. It's been a great conversation, and it's a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.